twin suns burned over the red desert of planet Valora. The air shimmered with heat and the ground cracked like broken glass. No sound of life, no sign of water, only silence and death. In the middle of that endless wasteland, a woman lay half buried in sand. Her skin had a strange silver glow and her long hair was white as the desert moon. She was not human. Her body trembled weakly, her breathing shallow, her eyes barely open. Around her, black-winged vultures circled, waiting for her to stop moving completely. Her name was Arizen, once a noble of the Seraphis, a powerful alien race that ruled over dozens of worlds. But today she was no one. Her own family had abandoned her. Arizen had broken one of the oldest Seraphis law. She had shown mercy. When her people attacked a smaller race for resources, she had helped their children escape. For that act of compassion, she was declared a traitor. Her family turned their backs on her, and her own sister commanded the guards to throw her from their ship above Valora. She had fallen through the sky like a burning star, crashing into the desert below. Now hours later, her strength was gone. Her silvery blood stained the sand. She whispered weakly to herself, her voice dry and cracked. "Is this my end?" A vulture landed nearby, its long beak glinting in the light. Its yellow eyes watched her, hungry and cold. Another one followed, flapping its wings. Arizen tried to move, but her body refused to obey. Her mind screamed, "Not yet, not like this." But the desert didn't care. Then, a sound. A low, distant rumble. At first, she thought it was thunder. But Valora hadn't seen rain in years. The sound grew louder, a deep mechanical growl that rolled across the dunes. The vultures lifted their heads and screeched, startled. Out of the shimmering heat, something appeared. A strange machine on 4 wheels covered in dust and metal plates. Inside it sat a figure wearing goggles and a desert scarf. A human. The vehicle stopped a few feet away. The man climbed out slowly, his boots sinking into the hot sand. He looked young, but his eyes were sharp, the kind of eyes that had seen too much pain. His clothes were torn, patched with old leather. His name was Ethan Cross, a scavenger who searched for old alien tech in the wastelands. When he saw her, he froze, for a long moment. They stared at each other, one human, one alien, both broken by their worlds. Ethan lowered his scarf. "You're alive?" he said softly. Arizen tried to speak, but only a faint sound came out. He stepped closer carefully, his hand near the weapon on his belt. He had heard stories of alien traps, illusions meant to lure humans to death. But there was something different in her eyes. Pain, fear. He knelt beside her. "Hey, don't move. I'll help you." She looked at him, confused. "Help me?" Her voice was faint, full of disbelief. "Yeah," he said, pulling out a small water pack. "You're not dying out here." "Not today." He placed the water against her lips. She hesitated, then drank. The cool liquid hit her throat and tears filled her eyes. No one, not even her own people, had shown her kindness in weeks. Ethan looked at her strange wounds, glowing faintly under the skin. "You're not from around here, huh?" he muttered. Arizen managed a weak smile. "No, I'm from above," he laughed a little, shaking his head. "Figures. Everyone who falls from the sky says that." For the first time in days, she felt warmth that wasn't from the suns. A human, one of the species her people had once considered primitive, was saving her life. But behind them, the vultures were not gone. They watched from the rocks, waiting for weakness. And high above, unseen by both, a Seraphis drone hovered silently, recording everything. Back in orbit, her sister watched the feed. Her voice was cold as ice. "So my dear Arizen found a new friend. A human, how pathetic." She turned to her guards. "Prepare the hunters. I want her body, and whoever dares to help her, erased." Down on the desert floor, Ethan lifted Arizen into his vehicle. "Hold on," he said. "We're getting you out of here." As the engine roared to life and they sped toward the horizon, the sky above began to glow, the first sign that something terrible was coming, and so the story began, of a human who would defy the galaxy itself, to save one abandoned alien soul. The desert night came fast on planet Valora. The twin suns sank below the dunes, and the cold replaced the heat. Ethan drove his old rover across the silent wasteland, the headlights cutting through the darkness. Behind him, Arizen lay weak in the back seat, her silver eyes half open. Her breathing was better now, but her body was still glowing faintly where the wounds had not closed. Ethan kept glancing in the mirror, afraid she might stop breathing again. "Hey," he said quietly, "you still alive back there?" "I am. Trying," she whispered, her voice soft like wind. He smiled a little. "Good, try harder. You're not dying in my truck." The vehicle bounced over rough ground, sending small clouds of dust into the air. Ethan's hideout wasn't far. An old mining shelter built by humans decades ago when they first came to Valora. It was buried under rock, invisible to the sky. He reached it just before midnight. With effort, he carried Arizen inside, laying her on a metal bed. The room was dim, filled with old machines, half-working lights, and shelves full of scavenged parts. "You're safe here," Ethan said. "No one comes this far." Arizen looked around slowly. "This is your home?" He shrugged. "More like a hole in the ground, but it keeps me alive." She studied him. A human with rough hands, dirt on his face, but eyes full of quiet kindness. Her people had called humans barbarians. Yet this one had risked his life for her. Ethan turned to his small medical box, pulling out old tools and nano-bandage strips. "All right, let's see those cuts." When he touched her skin, the nano-bandage sizzled, reacting to her alien cells. He pulled his hand back. "Whoa, that's not normal." "It's my energy," Arizen said weakly. "We carry light inside our blood." Ethan stared. "Light in your blood? No wonder you glow," she smiled faintly. "Does it frighten you?" He shook his head. "I've seen scarier things than light." But deep down he was amazed. A living being whose blood shimmered like stars. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. After a few minutes, her breathing steadied. The nano-bandages began to fuse with her wounds, glowing gently. Ethan sat beside her, tired but curious. "So you gonna tell me what happened?" he asked. "Why were you out there alone?" Arizen looked away, her eyes full of pain. "My family left me. My people. They follow laws older than memory. I broke one." "What law?" "I showed mercy," she said quietly. "We invaded another world. I saved their children instead of killing them. For that I became a disgrace." Ethan didn't speak. He had heard stories about the Seraphis, powerful beings who ruled the stars with cold logic. But hearing it from her made it real. "They threw me from our ship," she continued. "Said the desert would finish me." He clenched his fists. "Cowards. You helped someone and they punished you for it?" She nodded slowly. "To them, mercy is weakness." Ethan looked down at the ground. "Then maybe they've never met the right human." There was silence between them, heavy but not cold. The desert wind howled outside the metal shelter. Suddenly, a red light blinked on one of Ethan's old radar screens. A small dot moving fast, he frowned. "That's not good. What is it?" Arizen asked, sitting up weakly. "Sky drone. Seraphis type. It's scanning the surface." Her eyes widened. "They found me." Ethan grabbed his blaster rifle and stood by the door. "Then they'll have to go through me first." Arizen tried to rise, but her legs trembled. "You can't fight them. They will kill you." He gave a crooked grin. "Yeah, they've been trying for years." "Never works." He moved outside, scanning the dark sky. The drone hovered, shining a cold blue beam across the dunes. Ethan aimed and fired. The shot hit its wing and it spun wildly before exploding in a flash of light. When he came back inside, smoke still clung to his clothes. "You destroyed it," Arizen whispered, shocked. "Guess I did." She stared at him with wonder. "Why do you help me, human?" "You gain nothing," Ethan sighed. "Because once someone helped me when I was left for dead. Maybe this is my turn." Her eyes softened. "You risk much for a stranger." "Yeah, well," he said, sitting down beside her. "Maybe we're both strangers to the wrong worlds." Outside, the desert fell silent again. But far above, among the stars, Seraphis ships began to move. Her sister had seen the destroyed drone Utag, and she was furious. "Find her," the sister commanded, "and kill the human who dares to protect her." Back underground, Ethan poured water into a cup and handed it to Arizen. "Get some rest," he said. "Tomorrow we figure out how to get you off this rock." As she closed her eyes, a faint smile touched her lips. For the first time since her fall, she felt safe. But neither of them knew. Their journey had just begun. Morning came slowly on planet Valora. The pale light of the twin suns slipped through cracks in the rock, painting golden lines across the floor of Ethan's shelter. Dust floated in the air like silent ghosts. Ethan woke first. He sat up, rubbing his tired eyes, and checked the radar again. The screen was quiet, no signals, no drones. But he didn't trust the silence. The Seraphis were hunters. They didn't stop after one failure. He looked toward Ari Zen. She was still asleep, her silver skin glowing softly in the dim light. For a moment, he forgot she was from another world. She looked peaceful, almost human. He walked quietly to his small workbench and began repairing a weapon part. His hands moved automatically, twisting wires, checking circuits. But his mind was elsewhere. Why had he saved her? Why risk his life for someone who wasn't even human? Because he thought no one deserves to die alone. Suddenly, Ari Zen stirred. She sat up slowly, her hair shining like white fire. "Ethan," she said softly. "The air feels heavy." He paused. "What do you mean?" She closed her eyes, sensing something unseen. "There is energy. Below us, old energy. It feels alive." Ethan frowned. "Alive? It's just rocks and sand down there." "No," she said, standing weakly. "There is something sleeping beneath." Before he could answer, the ground trembled. A deep rumble rolled through the shelter, shaking the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ethan grabbed his rifle. "That's not good." Ari Zen moved to the center of the room. Her hands glowed faintly, silver light spreading across the floor. Symbols appeared, glowing lines and circles carved deep into the rock. Ethan stepped back. "What in the name of— It's Seraphis tech," she said. "Ancient. My people used to bury our machines when we left a dying world." The ground split open, revealing a staircase made of black metal. Cool air rose from below. Ethan's eyes widened. "You're telling me there's a secret alien base under my home?" Ari Zen nodded slowly. "Yes, and it may be the only thing that can save us." He hesitated only for a moment. "All right," he said, grabbing a flashlight. "Let's go see your ghost machine." They walked down into the darkness. The stairs seemed endless, and the air grew colder with every step. Strange lights flickered on the walls, symbols of stars, planets, and wings. Finally, they entered a huge chamber. It was filled with floating crystals, metal structures, and a giant circular device in the center. The machine pulsed faintly like a sleeping heart. Ari Zen approached it slowly, her hand trembling. "This is an arc core," she whispered. "A ship engine that can bend time and space. I thought all of them were destroyed." Ethan stared in awe. "You mean this thing can fly?" "Not just fly," she said. "It can travel between stars in a breath. But it has been sleeping for centuries." He whistled softly. "Well, let's wake it up." Ari Zen smiled sadly. "It's not that simple. The core needs energy, the kind only Seraphis blood can give." Ethan looked at her glowing hands. "You mean your blood?" She nodded. "Yes, but it will weaken me, maybe kill me." He shook his head. "Then forget it. We'll find another way." She stepped closer to the machine. "Ethan, if we don't activate it, my people will find us. And when they do, they'll kill you first." He clenched his fists, jaw tight. "You're not dying again, not while I'm here." But she was already touching the core. Silver light spread from her hands, rushing through the chamber. The walls shook, the crystals sang like wind chimes, and the floor glowed with power. Ethan shielded his eyes. "Ari Zen!" Her voice echoed, weak but steady. "It's waking. I can feel it." Then silence. The light faded. She collapsed to the ground. Ethan rushed to her side, lifting her head. "Hey, stay with me." Her pulse was faint, her skin dim. But beneath them, the machine began to hum, alive again after 1,000 years. A deep voice, mechanical but calm, filled the chamber. "Arc core activated. Identify command." Ethan looked around, stunned. "What the hell?" Ari Zen opened her eyes just enough to whisper. "Say your name. It will listen." He hesitated. "Ethan Cross." Acknowledged. Human signature accepted. "Welcome, Captain Cross." The room filled with blinding light. When it cleared, holographic screens surrounded them, showing stars, planets, and Seraphis ships moving in orbit. Ari Zen whispered, "They're coming. We have little time." Ethan looked at the glowing console. "Then we fight back. You gave this machine life. Now let's make it count." Far above, the Seraphis fleet turned toward Valora. The hunters were on their way. The air in the underground chamber hummed with strange energy. The arc core pulsed like a living heart, sending blue light racing through the ancient walls. Ethan stood at the control panel, breathing hard. His reflection shimmered on the metal surface, eyes wide with disbelief. He was no pilot, no hero, just a scavenger from the dust. Yet now the voice of a forgotten machine called him captain. Behind him, Arizen lay weak but alive. The glow on her skin had dimmed, but her breathing was steady. Ethan knelt beside her, brushing the sand from her hair. "Hey, you did it," he whispered. "You woke it up?" Her lips curved into a faint smile. "The Corps listens to you now. You carry its command." "Me?" Ethan laughed softly, shaking his head. "I don't even know how this thing works." "You will learn," she said weakly. "The Ark chooses who has the courage to protect." Before Ethan could answer, the ground above them trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling. The radar screen flared red. Multiple signals. Arizen's eyes widened. "They're here." Ethan rushed to the console. The hologram showed dark shapes descending through the atmosphere. Sleek Seraphis warships, their wings glowing with blue fire. The sky above Valora had turned black. "They're not wasting time," Ethan muttered. "They came for you." "For us," she corrected softly. "You are part of this now." He glanced at her, confused but determined. "Then we fight together." The Ark Corps' voice spoke again, deep and calm. "Warning, hostile energy detected. Recommend activation of defense protocol." Ethan blinked. "Defense protocol? You mean this thing's armed?" "Affirmative. Hidden weapon systems buried below surface. Show me." The hologram expanded, revealing a massive structure beneath their feet, an ancient fortress powered by the Ark Corps itself. Arizen whispered, awe in her voice. "This place, it's more than a shelter. It's a weapon left behind by my ancestors." Outside, thunder shook the desert as the first Seraphis dropships landed. Soldiers in shining armor stepped onto the sands, their eyes glowing white. Leading them was a tall woman with the same silver hair as Arizen, her sister, Serana Vel. She raised her spear toward the horizon. "Find the traitor. Burn everything." Inside the chamber, Ethan's fingers moved across glowing symbols. "All right, Ark, let's see what you can do," the ground rumbled. Huge panels rose from beneath the sand, forming metallic towers around the desert shelter. Energy cannons emerged, glowing bright as the sun. Arizen watched, her weak body trembling with fear and wonder. "You are controlling it, like it knows your mind." Ethan didn't understand how. The controls felt almost alive, moving with his thoughts. The Ark systems responded faster than he could think, as if it had chosen him for a reason. The Seraphis ships opened fire. Beams of white plasma struck the ground, but before they could hit, a blue energy shield expanded around the shelter. The beams bounced away like pebbles on glass. Ethan grinned. "Nice try, bird brains." Seranavel's eyes narrowed. "A human dares use our sacred technology?" She raised her hand, summoning drones that swarmed like metallic insects. They dove toward the dome of energy, slamming into it again and again. The shield flickered. Ethan slammed his fist on the console. "Ark, more power." "Power levels low. Energy source unstable." He looked back at Arizen. "We need more from the core." She shook her head weakly. "If I give more, I will die." He froze, torn between saving her and saving them both. But she smiled. That same sad, brave smile. "Ethan, my life was taken from me once. You gave it back. If this helps you live." "It's worth it," he gritted his teeth. "No, we find another way." But she was already standing, her legs shaking. She pressed her glowing hands to the floor again. The Ark Core blazed brighter, sending waves of light through the base. The cannons roared to life, firing beams of blue energy into the sky. The Seraphis ships exploded one by one, lighting up the night. The ground quaked with power. Arizen fell to her knees, her glow fading fast. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. "Stay with me," he shouted, her eyes fluttered open. "Do you see now why mercy matters?" He nodded, voice breaking. "Yeah, I see it." Above them, Seranavel watched her army fall. Her rage burned hotter than any sun. "Enough, prepare the Stormbreaker. I'll destroy them myself." Back underground, Ethan looked at the rising dust clouds on the hologram. "She's bringing something big." Arizen's weak voice trembled. "The Stormbreaker is not a ship. It's a world killer. It can burn Valora to ash." Ethan stared at the display, heart pounding. "Then we have one choice left." He turned toward the Ark Core, its heart glowing like a star. "We take this fight to the sky." The machine answered. "Flight protocol ready. Awaiting your command, Captain Cross." Ethan took a deep breath holding Arizen's hand. Then let's show them what humanity can do. As the ground split apart and the ark began to rise into the stormy night, the stars above Valora burned brighter, as if the universe itself was watching. The desert sky split open as the ancient ark rose from beneath the sands. Lightning flashed around its silver hull. The dunes below scattered like waves under its power. Inside the cockpit chamber, Ethan stood at the central console, gripping the glowing controls. His heart pounded as the ark tore through the air, leaving trails of blue light behind. Arizen lay beside him in the medical pod, her body still weak, her silver glow faint. Every pulse of the ship's energy came from her life force, her blood connected to the core through thin, luminous threads. "Hang on," Ethan whispered. "You started this. Now let's finish it." Outside, the Seraphis fleet filled the sky like a wall of fire. Dozens of warships, their wings stretching across the horizon, aimed down at the rising ark. At their center, the Stormbreaker waited, a massive ship shaped like a blade, its edges glowing with molten energy. From its command deck, Saranavel watched in fury. "The human dares to rise," she hissed. "Then he will die among the stars," she raised her hand. "All ships and destroy them!" The fleet opened fire. Plasma beams cut through the sky like falling stars. The ark dodged and twisted, guided by Ethan's instincts more than skill. The controls responded to his thoughts, his fear, his courage. He gritted his teeth. "Come on, Ark. Work with me. Neural link stabilizing," the Ark's voice replied calmly. "Captain's mind synchronization, 73% complete." "What does that mean?" Ethan shouted. "It means," the voice said, "you are beginning to think like me." He didn't have time to ask more. Another explosion shook the hull. Ethan pulled the ship into a sharp dive, skimming between two Seraphis destroyers. The Ark's cannons fired bolts of blue plasma, cutting through their armor like paper. Arizen groaned weakly. "Ethan, your mind. It's merging with the Ark. Be careful." He looked back at her, eyes full of determination. "If that's what it takes to keep you safe, and I'll handle it." Her voice trembled. "The Ark is ancient. It has its own will. It can change you." He didn't answer. Deep inside, he already felt it. A strange connection, like the machine was reading his memories. He could feel its hunger for purpose, its endless loneliness buried for centuries. And he felt something else. Power. The Seraphis fleet regrouped. Saranavel's face appeared on the Ark's holographic screen. Her eyes burned with cold rage. "You have no idea what you're touching, human," she said. "That ship was built to serve gods, not creatures of dirt." Ethan glared back. "Funny. Guess your gods didn't expect a scavenger to steal their toy," she sneered. "You think you can win? The Stormbreaker holds the power of a dying sun. Your machine is a candle." "Maybe," he said, "but sometimes a candle is enough to light the dark." The transmission cut. Then, the Stormbreaker fired. A massive beam of red energy shot across the void, striking the ark. The ship screamed like a living creature. Lights flickered, metal groaned. Ethan was thrown to the ground. Arizen cried out as pain shot through her. The core was feeding on her strength to hold the shields. Ethan rushed to her side. "Stop, you'll burn yourself out." She looked up at him, tears in her glowing eyes. "If I stop, you die," he shook his head. "No, we find another way." Her trembling hand reached for his. "Ethan, your mind is linked to the Ark. It listens to you now. The core will respond only to your heart. Think, not fight." He took a deep breath. The storm of battle raged outside, explosions lighting up the black sky. He closed his eyes and focused. Not on hate, not on revenge, but on something stronger. Hope. The Ark's voice echoed inside his mind. "Captain Cross." Emotional frequency detected. Recalibrating system alignment. The lights inside the ship changed, blue to gold. The hum of the core deepened, steady and warm. Ethan opened his eyes. "Let's end this." The Ark surged forward faster than light. It sliced through enemy ships, leaving trails of golden energy. Seraphis vessels exploded behind them like dying stars. Saranavel's eyes widened. Impossible. No human can control that power. But Ethan could, and because he wasn't fighting for war or glory. He was fighting to save someone who believed mercy was not weakness. He turned the ship toward the Stormbreaker. "Arizen." "Hold on," she smiled weakly. always. The Ark's wings unfolded, glowing like twin suns. Final charge sequence initiated, the voice said. Impact course locked. Ethan gripped the controls. Let's show her what humanity can do. The Ark slammed into the Stormbreaker's energy beam, but instead of breaking apart, it absorbed it. The golden light flared brighter and brighter until it blinded the entire fleet. Then, silence. When the light faded, the Ark hovered alone among the debris of the Seraphis armada. The Stormbreaker was gone. Arizen breathed weakly, tears falling down her pale cheeks. You did it. You saved us. Ethan smiled faintly. No, we did. But even as the victory settled, the Ark's voice whispered inside his mind. Softer, colder. Captain Cross, synchronization complete. You and I are now one. Ethan froze, his reflection on the console glowing gold. For the first time, he realized. He could feel the ship breathing. And somewhere deep in the shadows of the cosmos, something ancient stirred. The stars around Valora were quiet again. The great Seraphis fleet was gone, reduced to ashes floating through space. But inside the glowing halls of the Ark, peace was only an illusion. Ethan sat alone in the control chamber. The golden lights that once felt warm now flickered coldly. Every heartbeat of the ship pulsed inside his own chest. He didn't just control the Ark anymore. He was the Ark. Arizen slept in the medical pod nearby, her breathing slow and soft. She had given nearly all her strength to save him. Her pale skin no longer shimmered. It looked almost human now. Ethan stared at her face. She had risked everything for him. And in return, he had become something else. Something not quite human anymore. The Ark's voice spoke softly inside his mind. Captain Cross, vital signs stable. System link complete. Yeah, he muttered. I can feel that. You hesitate, said the voice. Why? Because I don't know where I end and you begin, he said quietly. You're in my head. You're thinking for me. We are one system now, the Ark replied calmly. Together we can protect her. Together we are unstoppable. Ethan looked down at his hands. The veins beneath his skin glowed faintly gold, the same color as the Ark's energy. Unstoppable, huh? That's what they always say before they lose themselves. The voice didn't answer. Suddenly a faint alarm rang through the ship. A new signal, weak, far away. Ethan opened the holographic map. A red dot blinked on the edge of Valora's orbit. He frowned. Another ship? Don't tell me there's more of them. Unidentified craft approaching, the Ark said. Its energy signature is Seraphis, but different. Older. Older. That word sent a chill down Ethan's spine. He zoomed in on the signal. It was small, not a warship, more like a pod. And it wasn't moving toward them. It was calling. A voice came through the static, one calm, ancient, and familiar. Arizen of Seraphis, daughter of House Vel, you are not forgotten, Ethan froze. The voice wasn't from her sister. It sounded deeper, almost divine. He looked toward the pod. Arizen stirred in her sleep as if hearing the same voice. Her eyes fluttered open. That sound, she whispered. It's the council. The high voice of Seraphis. Ethan frowned. Your leaders? They are more than that, she said weakly. They are the ones who created my people, the ones who left the Ark behind. The voice continued. Return what is ours, or both your lives will end. The Ark must not belong to a human. Ethan clenched his fists. Oh, I'm sorry. You had your chance. Now it belongs to me. But the Ark's lights flickered uneasily. Captain, the signal carries override codes. They can command my systems. Ethan's eyes widened. You mean they can control you? Yes, unless I resist. But resistance requires complete fusion. Fusion? Ethan whispered. What happens if we do that? Then there will be no separation between you and me. Your body will cease. Only thought will remain. Arizen's voice trembled. Ethan, no. If you merge with it, you'll lose yourself forever. He looked at her, torn. If I don't, they'll take the Ark. And you'll die. She shook her head, tears glowing in her eyes. Please, you've already given enough. He smiled sadly. You once told me mercy isn't weakness. Maybe sacrifice isn't either. Before she could stop him, Ethan placed his hand on the glowing console. The Ark's core reacted instantly. Golden light flooded the room. His body lifted from the floor, his veins blazing like fire. Ethan! Arizen screamed, running toward him. But an invisible force held her back. The Ark's voice echoed, now mixed with his own. Fusion sequence initiated. Human consciousness merging with central core. Pain shot through Ethan's mind, but he didn't pull away. He saw flashes, memories, stars, forgotten battles, and lifetimes the Ark had lived before him. He saw civilizations rise and fall, planets burn, and silence follow. He gasped. "You've been alone for so long." "Yes," the Ark replied, its tone softer now. "And you were the first to speak to me, like I was alive." Ethan smiled faintly. "That's because you are." The golden light dimmed. The fusion stopped halfway. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping. Arizen rushed to him, holding him tightly. "Why did you stop?" she whispered. He looked into her eyes, his voice trembling. "Because it doesn't need another machine, it needs a human heart." The Ark's voice came again, quieter now, almost emotional. "Captain Cross, your logic is flawed, but your choice is understood." The lights in the ship steadied. The override signal from the Seraphis Council faded into silence. Arizen held him close. His glow began to fade and his breathing slowed. "You saved us again," she said softly. "But at what cost?" He smiled weakly. "I'm still here. Just a little more." Golden than before, the Ark spoke once more. "New directive, protect the human. Protect the alien. Together they are balance." And for the first time the machine sounded almost alive. Outside the stars glowed brighter, as if the universe itself had just taken a deep breath. But far away, beyond the edge of the known systems, the High Council of Seraphis began to stir. And this time, they were not coming to talk. The galaxy had never been so silent. After the great battle, the Ark drifted above Valora's orbit, glowing faintly like a wounded star. Inside, Ethan and Arizen stood side by side, watching the endless dark beyond the glass. Arizen's silver eyes reflected the stars. "They will come again," she whispered. "The High Council never forgives." Ethan nodded quietly. "Then we'll be ready." He could still feel the Ark inside his mind, not as a voice now, but as a heartbeat echoing with his own. Since the fusion, he no longer needed controls. The ship felt what he wanted. It breathed when he breathed, but it came with a cost. His skin shimmered faintly gold in the dim light, and sometimes his thoughts echoed twice. One human, one machine. He looked at Arizen, her face soft and worried. "If I ever stop sounding like me," he said gently, "you know what to do." She shook her head. "I will not destroy you." "You might have to," he said. "Because I'm not sure how long I'll stay. Me." Before she could answer, the ship trembled. The stars outside shifted and then split open. A rift tore through space itself. From within the burning light, enormous shadows emerged. Black ships the size of continents, their surfaces covered with living metal. At the center of the formation floated a massive structure shaped like a ring of fire. Arizen's breath caught. "That's the High Council's throne ship. The eclipsed star." A deep voice thundered through space, reaching their minds directly. "Child of Seraphis, you betrayed perfection for weakness, and you, human, dared touch the divine. Prepare for erasure." Ethan's fists tightened. "You sound like every tyrant I've ever met." The Ark's inner lights flared to life. "Warning, energy levels surpass known limits. Suggest retreat," Ethan smirked. "We don't retreat." He stepped closer to the window. "Let's show them what two outcasts can do." The Ark roared forward, golden fire blazing from its wings. The first wave of council ships opened fire, massive beams of pure light tearing through the void. But the Ark moved like thought itself, twisting, spinning, vanishing into streaks of gold. Arizen took the co-pilot seat, her hands trembling as she joined her energy with his. The core glowed brighter, pulsing between their heartbeats. Together they became something new, not Seraphis, not human, but a bond of mercy and courage. "Target the throne ship," Ethan shouted. "Charging main core," the Ark replied, its voice now sounding faintly human, like a mix of both of them. The Ark's energy built into a sphere of golden light. It expanded, shaking the stars. The High Council's voice thundered again. "You cannot defeat eternity." Ethan grinned fiercely. "Then we'll rewrite it." The Ark fired. The golden beam pierced through the void, splitting the darkness in two. It hit the throne ship dead center. For a moment, everything went white. Then silence. When the light faded, the massive ship was cracked and burning. But it wasn't destroyed. From its core emerged something vast, a being of pure energy, shaped like a Seraphis, eyes burning with endless rage. Arizen gasped. "That's not a ship anymore. It's a god." Ethan felt fear crawl up his spine, but he didn't back down. Then it bleeds like one. He pushed the arc to full power. The core screamed, a sound both beautiful and terrifying. Arizen's hands glowed silver as she poured what was left of her life force into the engine. "Ethan," she whispered, tears in her voice. "If this is the end, thank you." He looked at her, eyes soft. "No, this isn't the end. It's the beginning, and for both our worlds," he took her hand. Their fingers intertwined, human warmth against alien light. "Final fusion sequence ready," the arc said quietly. Ethan looked at the burning god ahead. "Then let's finish what Mercy started." The arc exploded with golden light, merging Ethan, Arizen, and the ship into one being, half human, half machine, half Seraphis. It streaked toward the throne ship like a star reborn. The impact was silent but infinite. Light poured across the galaxy, washing through every system. And then, nothing. When the light cleared, Valora's sky glowed again. No more warships. No more council. Only quiet stars. From the desert below, a single streak of gold fell like a meteor and landed softly in the sand. Arizen awoke beside the wreckage of the ark, her body warm, her heartbeat steady. Ethan was beside her, alive but different. His eyes shimmered gold like twin suns. She touched his face gently. "You came back," he smiled faintly. "Told you. We'd rewrite eternity." She looked up at the calm sky. "What happens now?" Ethan stood, staring at the horizon. "Now we rebuild. Human and Seraphis together." The wind blew softly through the desert, carrying the faint hum of the ark buried beneath them. Still alive. Still watching somewhere far beyond among the stars. Whispers spread of a legend. The human who merged with the gods, and the alien who taught him mercy. And that was how a scavenger and an exile lit the first dawn of a new galaxy.